All right. G'day, g'day. Welcome back to Collectivitis, podcast where we dissect the disease that is collectivism. We haven't dissected in quite a while. It's been probably the longest hiatus we've ever had as a show. We've never gone for quite as long as, over a month before. And the collectivism has, sorry, the the collective the collectivism
Ism.
has spread.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
I
yeah.
got thrown by our name. The collectivism has certainly spread in that time. So we are here to do some serious dissecting. How you doing, Floyd?
I'm good, mate. It's good to see you. After all this time, kind of got a bit lonely out there in the world wide web, but we're back and we're here, and yeah, really looking forward to it. Though it's kind of not really, because then you have to talk about stuff that's a bit depressing. But hey, at least we get to talk about it.
Hey, let's make it less depressing. You
Yeah,
you can't. I've been in Italy, so just for anyone wondering, and you can't tell from my tan because it was actually autumn in Italy, so it was pretty much the same sort of weather that I've come back to. So not even getting an escape to the sun or anything, but it was good. It was nice. It was full of communists. There was something about Italy that's really cool. Is the graffiti in Italy always or almost always falls into either one of two categories, especially in the bigger cities. It's always either really hyper political, like Antifa, but not just Antifa, like all sides of politics. They go to the walls quite often to share their message, or it's really like lovey-dovey, like Sylvia, I can't live without you. If you leave me, I will
oh,
die, like
nice,
shit like that.
nice.
It's the two extremes.
Yeah,
One of my favorite ones that I saw, and sometimes they combine the two. One of my favorite ones that I saw is was the quote was, and this is translated, was loving you is as easy as hating cops. So that was that was a cool bit of graffiti that I saw there. But there's all sorts. There was anti-vax stuff. They haven't even taken it down. I was last there 2 years
hmm,
ago, and there was a bunch of like anti-NATO, anti-vax, pro-vax, whatever, all that stuff. And then going back to my hometown, it was all still there. So I don't know,
nice.
they allow it
Molto
to a
bene.
certain extent.
Yeah.
So that was
Well,
cool.
they never
But
they never cleaned they didn't clean the trains off in Rome for a while. I know that was like a persistent thing, and everyone loved Rome because of that.
that they didn't, well, they don't clean anything apparently. There's
Yeah, okay,
it's all
yeah,
over the shop. I mean, there's lots of new ones. I mean, they must clean it at some point because there's not like political activism from the
yeah,
90s or anything still
yeah,
left
yeah.
there. There's loads of free Palestine shit at the moment
Mhm.
all over it, which fair enough. Uh, so at some point, I guess they get rid of, once it's not relevant anymore, maybe they get rid of it. It's
Yeah.
part of the culture.
Mm.
Um, Anyway, so I am back. We're back. We've got some stuff to talk about. I've been a little out of the Australian loop, but I've tried to keep up as much as possible. Um, so one of the things that's happened that's pretty good, that's worth mentioning and positive for liberty and libertarianism, is that in New South Wales they had council elections not all that long ago. About what was it, 2, 3 weeks ago now? That the
Yeah, yeah.
results came
Let's
out.
go with that.
Well, it was while I was over there, I think, and it was early on, so it must be 2, 3 weeks ago at least. And we've got council elections coming up, so it's a little bit of a blueprint of what could happen here in Victoria. And we usually talk about, and I've had Paul Barker on the show, who's a current Libertarian councillor. I think he's the only Libertarian Party affiliated councillor at the moment here in Victoria. And, we were talking about how council generally gets looked down on by the public as kind of the less important of the three tiers, and it doesn't have the grandeur, and it doesn't have the money behind it, and it doesn't create the same media storm that the state or federal elections do. But in
Mm.
many ways, it's actually more important or just as important for libertarians because there's a chance to actually win, as Paul Barker shows, because just about anyone can get elected to council with a little bit of support and a little bit of campaigning and a little bit of luck. And in terms of campaigning and messaging and certainly some extent of luck, in New South Wales, they managed to get 10 Libertarian Party affiliated councillors elected. which is massive. I think that's 10 up from zero. So that's a if they'd gotten one, it would have been an infinite increase in the number of elected members they had. So it's 10 times an infinite increase that they've had there, which is insane. So I mean that's the first thing worth mentioning. Also worth mentioning is the fact that the Liberal Party had a major collapse in their
Another one.
council hopes. Yeah, well, you got
Yeah.
to keep up. It's not the most recent
Yeah.
one.
Oh,
They've had
okay.
more recent ones, but they had a collapse. Sometimes it's easier to count time, not in days and hours, but in
Mm,
liberal collapses. So this is
mm,
two
mm.
liberal collapses ago. There was a problem with the paperwork that they filed for a bunch of their candidates. So a whole heap of their candidates for these council elections weren't eligible and weren't on the ballots. As you can imagine, someone had to benefit from this, and especially given the fact that New South Wales led largely by John Ruddick's messaging over there, which is very much along the lines of we are the Liberals if the Liberals weren't shit. If you like the Liberals but don't like what they're doing, you'll probably like us. That sort of thing. It made sense that the Libertarians would benefit pretty significantly from it, and they have. So 10 of those spots uh, have gone to Libertarian members. In fact, I'm pretty sure one of the councils actually has a majority of Libertarians now. Three
Wow.
of the five councillors were in the same were in the same council. So there is one council out there. You can do like the Free State Project in the US where they
Yep.
get all the
Yep.
libertarians to move to New Hampshire. Well, there is
Mm.
one council in New South Wales where you can all move to, and it'll be a little easier to, I don't know, put an extension onto your house or get your where there won't be any potholes or something like.
Yep.
You won't get gay propaganda in your mailbox and in your child's kindergarten every other day. I don't know. You probably still get that. They don't have that much power in council, but you get a bit less of it.
Mm.
Is good. You won't have the council commenting on the Ukraine-Russia conflict.
Oh,
Is
that's a
what you won't
shame.
get there. So it's
I would
worth it's
really like to see council intervene in Palestine in some way, because I know they definitely have the power and the money to do that. So I think that's sad.
I couldn't sleep at night if I didn't know my council's position on the Gaza conflict.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I don't know how anyone else sleeps at night not knowing what
Mm.
five irrelevant people think about a conflict on the other side of the world.
Mm.
But anyway, we are two irrelevant people who certainly think lots of things about conflict on the other side of the world, and you're going to hear what we think about it. So
So we haven't
um,
run for council yet.
I have no
Kind of.
intention of running. Do you have intentions of running for council?
If you do, I will.
Okay, well then you won't.
The
I guess you won't.
collectivitis ticket. Come on.
It's all the shit part of being a politician, uh, minus actually getting to make some positive change, on a big scale. No, I'm kidding, of course. There is lots that councils can do, but as Paul Barker alluded to, we need lots more councils before they can start doing these things because at the moment they're just outspoken
Yeah.
voices.
Well, I mean,
Um,
if you've ever watched, while I was down in Torquay handing out flyers for Paul on the weekend, and I do watch him in council. And yeah, it's a you got to have balls to do that because he puts up with a lot of crap. Um,
like as in a lot of abuse from other people, or just
yeah,
has to
and
sit
just
through.
like just like everyone else voting the opposite side of how you're voting.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean that's what libertarianism in in politics should be. If
Mm,
if we're doing it right, we probably disagree with everything they want because I mean they're statists and we're not. There is the odd occasion where we agree with something, but I mean, unfortunately, I think that's the plight for libertarians
mm,
as is we only have one or two elected members at most in any area. In fact, at the moment, we don't have more than one anywhere. It's it should be, 39-1 in just about
mm.
every occasion.
One
But
day,
anyway, well, yeah, the point is to
Yeah.
change that. The point is we want it to be 38-2
Yes.
and then 37-3. And then if we're really lucky and we do really well in an election and everything falls our way, we can maybe get to 35-5 and still lose every single vote and everything that goes through. Um,
But with a greater, with greater speaking time, so at least you can say things that no one will listen to anyway. So
you can filibuster for longer. No, I
yeah,
said we weren't
yeah,
going to be
yeah.
depressing today, so we're gonna. I'm going to stop this. We're going to put a positive spin on everything from now on. You've dragged me down to it. Um, so
It's
anyway,
now it's the fact we're not in Italy anymore. It's just bringing you down.
maybe yeah. I think it's the partly the jet lag. I only just got back, so I've got a bit of a jet lag brain. Maybe that's where some of the pessimism is coming from. Also, if I uh, trail on and ramble out and lose my way midway through a sentence. That's why I don't have Joe Biden in a debate brain. It's just jet lag brain that I've got. So excuse that if it does occur. Um, but anyway, and a thing that I thought was interesting. Now, okay, so there's a few things about this New South Wales council success that's interesting. How much of that do we attribute directly to the fact that the Liberals didn't run in certain spots? Certainly, that is a factor. You can't deny, though, that New South Wales have done pretty well in a few of their recent elections. They did very well to get John Ruddock elected. They got, I think, over 3.3 to 3.5% of the vote statewide,
Mhm.
which statewide we haven't been getting that in Victoria. We've been getting closer to 2.5 to 2.5. I don't even know if we've cracked 2.5. Um, they had a by-election there not that long ago where they got something like 6 to 7%. And now in council, they've gotten this high number. There is a bit of a split, I guess, between the New South Wales branch of the party and the rest of the party in how they message and how they've branded themselves. I know the rest of the party's gone for a different style of branding and coloring and all of that. Whereas New South Wales is stuck with this very kind of bright yellow classic libertarian, and their messaging is recognizably different. It's all I think plastered on all their call flutes was like end the woke agenda, screw climate alarmism, climate fanaticism, no more LGBTQI in our, whatever. It's like it's very much fighting the culture war and trying to alienate the 60 to 70% of normies who were never going to vote for us, but inspire possibly, those 10%. I know they talk about the 10% that would agree with us already, if they just saw um, the correct signs that we're willing to take up these fights. So, look, part of it I'm sure is attributable to the Liberal failure. I think part of it is attributable to the bold messaging. I think it's probably overall a good thing that they have that style and we have largely, I mean, the rest of the party is going in a different direction because it means that in the next 2 or 3 elections, we will have a direct comparison to see which way works better. Rather than just having one way, either theirs or ours, and then never knowing if the other way would have worked better. So I don't know. I think it's an interesting experiment, and both sides are very hard-headed in in the way they want to go. So yeah, we'll see how that ends up. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Let's see how all the council stuff goes, and hopefully some more interesting people to watch on those streaming sessions. Know when your
Yeah,
council meetings are, and yeah, if you have nothing to do, watch it because yeah, no, I wouldn't say they're interesting things to watch, but yeah, if you've got nothing else to do.
the other thing that was interesting out of the council elections, which I noted, was the fact that both at those council elections and now since those council elections, libertarians have started to be, or the Libertarian Party has started to be taken much, much, much more seriously. Um, and that is something that I have not yet seen. The fact that other parties will use our name in their advertising, in their call flutes, in their propaganda, in their all the rest of their bits and pieces, I hadn't seen yet. And I've got a few examples which I just wanted to show you. I don't know, you may have seen these before, but I'd
Probably
never
not.
seen anyone else talk about us in that way. Like largely
Okay.
we've just been ignored. One Nation even gets ignored. Sometimes you'll have them talk about, One Nation is a pack of racists or whatever, but they don't really get talked about. Whereas now we are getting talked about. So the first one is this was from their council their council elections, and it's a little small, so it might be kind of hard to read. You can see my screen?
Yeah, but no, I can't.
Yeah, so it's
Oh,
really
I
small.
see.
Anyway,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
says
yeah.
when electricity assets were privatized in New South Wales, it led to higher prices, reduced service quality, and major job losses. This hurt the pockets of Western Sydney residents. The Penrith Libertarians are now planning to privatise council assets. This includes pools, childcare, roads, and other key assets. This means Penrith will become more expensive, service quality will drop, and locals will lose their jobs. Don't trust the lies. And this is right next to the Labor candidate's call flutes. I don't know if this was part of the labor, if someone just happened to put their call flute in between them. But I think that's wild, like to be considered so highly that there is a whole call flute there just to lie about us. I mean, obviously, all those things are not true. Um, I mean, first of all, the Penrith Libertarians were not planning
Sounds
on.
like a good sounds like a good footy team.
Yeah, well, that's right. But I don't know. I think that's a positive. Like the fact that other people consider us that way. I mean, the biggest problem we've had, and we've talked about this before, is the fact that no one knows who we are.
Hmm.
If other parties are willing to lie about us and tell everyone what's wrong with us, well, at least people hear the name. I think that's half the battle. Um, so anyway, that's the first one. The second one is this is from a Liberal. I think this was also at the council uh, from the council election. So this one, don't be fooled by the name. Libertarians are not affiliated with the New South Wales Liberal Party. They do not share the same values. They do not have the same policies. Don't risk your vote. Um, yeah,
That's
any
good. I
thoughts
mean,
on that?
I like that because who wants to be affiliated with the Liberals' policies and values? So it's almost like saying vote for them because we suck.
Yeah, well, hey, you don't like the Liberals, then you might like these
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Well, I think like look, that's again interesting for a couple of reasons. First of all, who thinks that the Libertarians are affiliated with the New South Wales Liberal Party? I mean, maybe some of John Ruddick's rhetoric has actually broken into like the general psyche that, these are the better versions of the Liberals. I think that kind of part of that to me reads like there's still some name confusion between Libertarians and Liberal
Mhm.
Party, in which case it's completely makes a mockery of the whole argument to keep the name Liberal Democrat because we still now have the name confusion with the notable advantage that we don't have a stupid name to go with it. But that was yeah, so that was I thought that was interesting as well. And the last one, which I think is the most interesting, is the Liberal Party. Well, because now there's three by-elections coming up in New South Wales, and there's one in particular, which is that of Pittwater, where the Liberals are there's only three candidates: a Liberal, the Libertarian, and a Teal Independent, which we know are like the cancer of the earth, possibly worse than the Greens even. Um, and the Liberals are very scared. There's no Labor candidate running, and the Liberals are very scared of losing this seat to the Teal. The Teals are going hard, and we know the last election here in Victoria, the Teals took a bunch of seats from the Liberals in the federal election, and this is the core flute that the Liberals have put up. So had you seen that one before?
Nice. No, I haven't seen that. That's
So I mean
good on
that's
them.
that voting Libertarian says the core flute question mark, and then underneath it says put the Liberals number two. So as if you're going to vote Libertarian, then put the Liberals as number two, which I mean I think is a massive admission that there is a huge following of libertarians, or that at least they think there is such a significant following of libertarians. And you can see the teal volunteers in the background in their little teal shirts. Um, but I this to me reads like there's potential for that breaking into actually being. I think third party is still a long way away. Even fourth party is still a long way away because we don't
Mm.
eclipse one nation. But maybe clawing our way out of the pack underneath that into being the fifth name recognizable party, which I think is huge. And I know it's in certain areas only, and I know it's only probably following a lot of the success of the council elections. Um, but I think that, it feels like the worm is turning a little bit. See, I've told you I'd be optimistic
Do you
today.
think do you think the revolution is happening now, and the what are they called, the silent majority is waking up? And
Well, no, I don't, because I don't think the silent majority doesn't know who we are. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking if people see our name, the silent majority might start looking into it a little bit and then might like
okay,
what they see, and we might scratch our way to that fifth spot. That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, and it would still be huge to poke our head above the water, above all those other, um, you know, essentially shit parties that crop up at every election cycle and be the one. Okay, these guys exist. Okay, we have to consider them. Okay, they have to be part of the conversation. I mean, you can't, like, as much as they find Pauline Hanson and One Nation odious, they have to admit that they're part of the conversation now. They make the news media cycle. I mean, if we could achieve that same thing, that I think that only bodes well. And as we've said before, the every time we do poorly in an election, we blame it on the fact that no one knows who we are. This is how you get known, by your enemies
by
having
that
to.
word fucking document right there. That's how we get known.
Shit. Hey, that's my secret plans, man. If anyone wants to go back and pause on that Word document, you can see the things we're going to talk about in the in the future parts of this podcast. Um, anyway, as per the Word document, the next thing that we wanted to talk about was the fact that oh no, sorry, and on that, do you think
Mm.
there's some plagiarism in the call flute? Like, that uses the exact lettering and coloring of the Libertarians in New South Wales.
I don't believe in intellectual property, so no.
No, I mean, I get it, but with how anal and strict the VEC, or I'm assuming the New South Wales EC or whatever they're called over there, tend to be on this stuff, like, that looks like it's one of our core flutes where we are telling people to vote for us and then put the Liberal
Yeah.
Party second. Like, I think that we could sue them or something.
Mhm. Oh well, yeah. I mean, do what you will. I mean, yeah. I guess I don't know. It's kind of it's a non-issue for me, if I'm being honest with you.
Okay. Um,
Yeah.
Right. Well, okay. So anyway, on from New South Wales. We've talked enough about New South Wales. So the Victorian council elections are coming up. What can we expect from the Victorian council election? So we've seen a blueprint for what could happen. It would be great to have a similar result here. I don't know. What are your feelings on how it's going to go here? Because I mean,
Yeah.
tomorrow I think is when you can start voting. It's
No. I
all
got
postal voting.
I got my postal vote. So I've got my little guide here. It closes on the 25th of October. So I already got mine. I've put in my vote already.
I thought I read somewhere that you
Um,
can start voting on the 15th, but I could be wrong.
oh well, maybe that's just for you, but well, maybe I just did a donkey vote then, if I've already posted it into them.
Anyway, so yeah, I know
Maybe
the
that's going
25th,
to the center, because you can go to like the local vote. So you can go to like a vote center and be like, I'll cast my vote
possibly,
in here instead of posting it off. So here I can read it
possibly.
and see what it says.
Anyway, while you read,
Yep, yep.
are you reading, or are you
I
conversing?
am I'm reading. I'm reading. I'm just trying to find. No, this is the wrong one. That's the candidate leaflet with
You can
all the great
multitask.
candidates I haven't had in my area. Like, yeah.
Anyway, the what's your feel on what's going to happen here? What do you?
If I'm being honest with you, I think you're going to see a big influx of you're either going to see a big influx of Greens, or a big influx, maybe both, or of the right wing kind of independent types.
Right.
I don't
Why
know
is
if they'll
that?
be liberals or former liberals, because I don't think it's going to be the same stuff, different day. Because I don't know, I haven't really been hooked onto many council elections at this point, but it does seem to be that there is this, hey, council, there's something wrong with council and how it's operating, so you go one side or the other. That's the thing I've picked up on.
Right. Okay. And I mean, the obvious answer to me would be the fact that, hey, look, since the last time we had council elections, now the cost of living is has skyrocketed out of control,
Yeah.
and to some extent, the cost of living has skyrocketed out of control since the last time we've had a chance to have an election.
Mm,
Right,
mm,
because I mean, even the state election here in 2022, inflation had just kind of started, and everyone was saying, well, vote us in and we'll get rid of it, which no one has
yeah.
done. And
Mm,
the federal election certainly wasn't even that, because they were both in 2022 and it was kind of starting, and both just said, hey, we'll get rid of it. Whereas now we've seen, hey, no one gets rid of it, and council maybe is what bears the brunt. Do you think that's why? Is that your read, or?
yeah, and I think it's the idea that councils aren't, they're either doing too much or they're doing too little, and we need a better voice for representation of the freedom of Gaza, or we need council to stop talking about the freedom of Gaza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I certainly agree with that. So you don't necessarily see an influx of libertarians. I know libertarians aren't running in necessarily all that many councils, um, but I mean, hopefully it.
I don't know. That's really what I see when it comes to like majority. I'm sure there's going to be some libertarians voted in, so I wouldn't be surprised if you saw that. But I guess just on the grander scale, I think that's where you'll mainly see those change candidates. And I mean, a libertarian is a change candidate as well. So I think that might come with it. But I think, yeah, the left, right, and the fuck you both, aka the libertarian, you'll probably see those guys come in because they're the ones saying, hey, let's shake things up because council's kind of a bit stagnant. But I don't know, maybe the the 50, 60, 70 year olds want it to stay how it is because they don't care, because they can go down and get their free little fitness sessions in the swimming pool.
Yeah, but that's the other thing. I think like council, because it's all done off essentially, well, I'd say what 90+% of people vote based on that little short blurb that they get
Yeah,
for each
that's,
candidate on their
that's
little
what I got
pamphlet.
here.
I mean, you could say anything in that and try and get, and a lot of people say more or less the same things. I mean, whether it is that slightly left or slightly right, or we need to do slightly more or slightly less, unless it's a real red hot progressive who's probably competing with another five or six progressives to try and get that vote. I mean, you could say anything to get in there, and it's not
Mm,
necessarily going to be a huge change, even if they all like everyone's going to claim to be a change candidate because no one's going to
yeah.
say, "Hey, vote me in because I'm going to do more of the exact same that the people they're already doing." There needs to be a
Mm.
reason for you to replace them. So
Well, I
I mean,
think
there's
that
probably
still
an element of
shows
that.
that there needs to be some sort of change, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, because it's what type of change do you want? So I think that's the scary part when it comes to the change. But I get what you're saying. There might just be some duds in there, and some people that falsely represent things. We'll see how it all goes. Um, yeah, I don't know if this is going to be forecasting for the federal election or anything like that, because everyone does claim that they're an independent. Um, but yeah, let's. I guess just another
Well,
thing we can focus on and talk about.
yeah, everyone does claim to be an independent, although a lot don't. There are a lot that run on an actual ticket. But I think
Mhm.
also, I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
forecasting for the election, I don't think. I mean, the polling and the stuff changes month on month on month on month. I don't
Mm,
know that necessarily it can be a huge indicator, but I think what could be a huge indicator is if there is this great appetite for change, or for throwing it all in the bin, or for
mm,
completely undoing the status quo. I think that would bode very well for the next Fed election, because it shows that there is a complete dissatisfaction with the two-party monopoly that's been going on, and that's the way you express it, right? As we said, we haven't had an election
mm.
since the enormous influx of inflation. There was some influx, but not since it's gotten extremely difficult for people to live. This is the first chance to get people to have their voice heard. And on top of that, the two major parties have been dropping in their primary vote for a while now. It could be it could be a sign that maybe the next election is the one that cracks that, and there isn't the two party monopoly anymore. Unfortunately, who are probably positioned best to take their place at the moment are the Greens and maybe the Teals, maybe a bit of One Nation. We need to position ourselves in there as well. Anyway, lots of very very minutiae
Yes.
political analytics. The other thing I wanted to talk about for anyone who's kept up with the Word document that I shared for about 3 seconds is the re-emergence of the Misinformation and Disinformation Bill, aptly named the MAD Bill. What are your thoughts on that? Well, what you knew a bit more about it than I did just before when we were talking before. What is it, and what are your thoughts on
Yeah,
it?
I think it's crazy. But my understanding of it is essentially it's the ACMA bill that Liberals were previously pushing in back under ScoMo. And yeah, it's just that retitled, and they're just trying to push that through again. I think the Liberals have come out opposing it, which is interesting. But yeah, it's just another try to do it. And yeah, I think the understanding was that it doesn't apply to the mainstream media. It just applies to you as a person because they're allowed to lie as much as they want because they can get it wrong, but you can't because you must be subservient to the authority. So
Yeah, well, and I remember the one of the big complications, one of the big problems with the ACMA bill was the fact that yeah, it doesn't apply to mainstream media and the government and all these state apparatus. And it obviously applies to individuals, but it also applies to social media companies. And the interesting thing about that is that by having this looming threat of fines, of whatever else, banning, closing, censoring, um, over social media companies, the biggest concern that social media companies would have is to not break these rules in any way. And so the outcome is that they would more than likely over censor to try and comply with all the regulations. And so what you would have is simply by having these rules that social media companies are going to self-censor and over-censor probably on dissenting opinions. And it's going to be obviously dissenting opinions that they censor on because, hey, this isn't the allowable opinion. This is the thing that might get us in trouble. This is the thing that we have to keep quiet. So it's very pervasive and it's an insidious in that way. And I remember that was part of the problem with the ACMA bill. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is something that's been maintained in this version of the MAD bill.
I can't comment in regards to whether that's true or false. So
No,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure I've seen that. I've read stuff that it is that way as well. Um, the Liberals are opposing it though.
I
That
believe.
right, but they
Don't
proposed it.
hold me to that. Yeah, but it's
I
not
know.
it's not their bill, it's the Labor bill, and Labor are the bad guys and we're the good guys. So anything Labor says, you've got to oppose it.
Yeah,
Because
and
it's not like we're two wings of the same bird or anything, but they're the bad guys, we're the good guys.
yeah, and obviously it's got something to do with the fact that it's not quite an election year, but almost an election year. So hey, here's a point of
Mm.
difference. Hey, look at us. We're for free speech now, despite the fact that it's almost identical to the thing that we first proposed. We hate this bill. It absolutely cannot pass because of this
Oh,
minor
but that
thing
was
that we
that
want
was
to
that was
change.
ScoMo, and now it's our favorite vampire, Dutton. So, and he's really taking the party in some direction and some change because he's a change candidate.
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah, something like that. So right, the MAD bill, and so they've just closed submissions on the MAD bill, and I think I'll probably have someone on to talk about it in the very near future. But it is looking like it's going to be discussed now, and they are going to vote for it, and we may well get. So the last time, what was interesting is the last time when they had the ACMA bill, they had submissions for it, and they were overwhelmed with the number of submissions that were against it. There was a huge movement of people, making submissions. Obviously, individuals can make submissions opposing it, saying, "Hey, this is outrageous. You should not be doing this. This is infringing on free speech, etc., etc., etc." Look, I made a submission in the end for this one as well. Hopefully, there's been a similar uptake of people going against it. The problem with a lot of this stuff is, let's say hypothetically that the Liberals weren't opposing it, because I think they're actually still umming and ahhing about whether they oppose it or not.
Okay.
They've made some sounds about opposing it, but they haven't fully come out as opposing
Maybe
it.
it's like Alex Antic has opposed it, but the official like party hasn't.
I think they've made, like, the
Yeah.
party's made sounds, and there's been some articles come out about it, but they haven't officially taken a stance on it, right? And if they don't oppose it, then it'll pass, because I mean, between them and Labor. But let's pretend for a moment that they aren't opposing it, and that the thing is that both sides essentially want, if not this exact version, but some version of this misinformation, disinformation banning, or increasing the powers to limit the amount of free speech that is on the internet. One of the problems with this stuff is, like, okay, they presented it in the ACMA bill. A lot of people had to get activated to argue against it. A lot of people had to be informed first what it is, be told, hey, this is how we need to make submissions against it. This is important. This is what could happen. This is what could go wrong if it is allowed to go through. Hey, let's have a big movement, make a lot of noise. Eventually, they make enough noise that the ACMA bill gets, there's so much lack of popular support that we can't push this through. They stop. It goes away. You wait. What's it been? 6 months, a year, if that. You name it something different.
How long until people forget?
Well, and
they've
that's my
got their
point, right?
psychological research and stuff that they all work off. So yeah.
They bring it up again with a new name, and this time there's a bit less of the vociferous argument against it, because some people can't be bothered doing it anymore. Some people aren't reinformed again. Everyone can't be bothered going through the charade once again of submissions and of informing people and of telling people what's wrong with this thing. And even if, again, they have enough submissions, they bring it up again in a year's time, and opinions have have cooled a bit further, until eventually there's not the public outrage because they brought it up maybe 2, maybe 7, maybe 10 times, and then they pass this thing. And that's
we already
how they
talked
do with
about
everything.
that. Let's just let them do. I mean, we've already done enough stuff for that. Just who cares?
Yeah,
Who cares?
it's like, hey, we all
things.
agree at this point. You guys didn't like the first 10 versions, but we all agree that we need one. So we've now changed it a few times until it's something that's palatable, and everything that's horrific that was going to be in it is in it anyway. And that's how they work. Like, they have all the state has all the patience in the world to grab its little tendrils of more power, and to remove some of the power from you. It's people that don't have the patience or the mobility to be able to get activated and mobilized so often as is needed to argue these things. Any more thoughts on the MAD bill, other than it's crazy?
No, just cray cray. That's all I'm gonna say. Cray. Mad cray. That's the new hashtag. Use it next time you're posting.
The other thing that, and I didn't want to talk. I mean, we've got a lot of topics, and we kind of just brushed over most of them today. But one thing that I did want to talk about at least a little bit is the US election, which is that's always wild. I mean, if we want to talk, like we've been talking about, the minute details and the small ideas of these local council and local by-elections, the US election, if you want to talk about grand scale happenings, that certainly is one. Since I left, they attempted to assassinate Trump again. That's so you can also count time in the amount of times they've tried to assassinate Trump. So last time we spoke was
supposedly,
one Trump.
Hey, supposedly there was I saw on Twitter, it was like they found someone with a fake VIP pass carrying a gun at a rally or something. So yeah, I think we will need to do it by count time, by how many times they're trying to assassinate him.
Do you mean that one recently?
Yeah, that's what I read today. I don't know how true or false it is because it was just on Twitter, but yeah, supposedly another person.
Yeah, I saw that one from today. I don't think from what I could see, I don't think it had the credibility of the other two. I don't think it was quite.
Like the CIA behind it is.
Yeah, there wasn't
Yeah,
the
yeah.
CIA wasn't behind this one, so it didn't get very far. Um, but yeah, one legitimate and one illegitimate Trump assassination ago was the last time we talked. What else has happened since then? They had a debate, which was a bit meh. I mean, Trump wasn't that
Yeah.
good. Kamala wasn't.
Mm.
Kamala, I mean, knew the talking points. She'd been coached on them. She's not retarded. She is retarded. She's not demented.
No, she's
That's the
not
difference.
gay. She's retarded. She's not gay. I think that's how it
Right.
works.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Um, but she's I think like from what I can tell, it is the most neck and neck election
Mm.
that has ever been predicted. I mean,
Yeah.
Clinton and Trump, you could argue, was more neck and neck because Clinton was supposed to be winning and then she didn't.
Yeah.
But as far as the polls go, like those polls showed Clinton was meant to win and then there was an upset. As far as the polls go, this is like razor thin. There's like
Yeah.
five
Yeah.
states which are the swing states, and all of them are like within 1 or 2%,
Mm.
which is well
Mm.
within the margin of error of polls. So this one is quite literally going down to a coin flip, which is pretty wild. Um, I was lots of other stuff has happened. I mean, RFK and Tulsi Gabbard came out and endorsed Trump, which I think is great. I mean, I was listening to an interview that Trump did just today with Lex Friedman. And I like Lex Friedman. I don't know if you watch much Lex Friedman. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I
he
saw when he had
asks
the Bethesda guy on. Anyway, nice guy. He's a well-rounded, well-rounded. What are we as libertarians?
individuals.
No, no, no.
He's
The
a
other word.
well-rounded individual.
No, the other word. The other word. What's the word? Autistic guys? Well-rounded
Ah,
autistic.
right.
Yeah,
He's a
yeah, yeah.
well-rounded autist.
So,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Well, look, he's a good interviewer, and he asks thoughtful questions. And all I could think throughout the interview as I was listening to it is, um, that Trump is just terrible. Like I think the worst thing about the Trump there's lots to like about the Trump campaign. Um, Things such as the fact that RFK is on there explicitly with an anti-war message and wanting to end the war in Ukraine.
And pro
Tulsi
health as well.
and the health thing, and he's
Yeah,
against the three-letter agencies, and Tulsi Gabbard
yeah,
is anti-war, and you have Vivek Ramaswamy there who is very much anti-war, very much anti-woke, very much pro-capitalism, pro-free market, all of those things. Um, there's lots to like about the things around the Trump campaign. The worst thing about the Trump campaign is Trump. He is just
mm,
so shit. I think he doesn't know much about what actually matters. He doesn't know much about the issues. Like you'll hear they'll ask a question, and this I've heard this not just on this interview. I've heard this sort of
mm,
exactly the same answer that he'll give on a number of other issues. For example, hey, what do you think of the war in Ukraine? Oh, it's terrible. Lots of people dying. So many people dying. How are you going to? What would you do to end the war in Ukraine? Well, you don't understand. The war would have never started if I had been in there. The
mm,
war would have never started. Nothing would have
yeah,
happened. This would have never happened again under me. Biden is the worst president we've ever had. In fact, I actually think she is worse than Biden. Like, this is his answer
mm, yeah,
to
yeah,
the question. And it's like that
yeah.
for every question. Hey, with Putin, what would you say with Putin to try and restore relationships or convince him to end the fighting? Well, me and Putin had a great relationship. Putin
Mm,
understood strength when I was in charge. There is no strength now that I'm not in charge. Under Biden, they got away with everything. Biden was the worst president we've ever had. She's maybe even worse than Biden. Like that's his answer to every question. It's like,
yeah,
dude, like either one, he has all the solutions and they're just a big massive secret and he's not allowed to
mm,
tell anyone. And so he won't tell anyone and he's just subverting it. or he has no fucking idea. And hopefully the people around him have some idea. I doubt they will, because he'll probably surround himself again with at least some shit people who'll get into his ear. Um, and so I think he is just the most odious part of the whole thing. And unfortunately, the movement that he's inherited is actually like this whole idea of America first and stop the wars and lower taxes and remove, Elon Musk talking about he's talking about putting Elon Musk in to get rid of 75% of government bureaucrats. Great idea, right? All of this are ideas that are fantastic to have as the core tenets of your movement. I don't think Trump has any idea about any of them. I don't think any of them are his idea. I don't think any of them are
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
he's particularly rock solid on. I think for him, it's just, hey, these are the things that'll get me in, and I was the best ever, and I'm the best, and I'm a winner.
I'm still
So
going to be the
anyway,
best when I look at myself in the mirror. Well, speaking about interviews and responses, he's going on Rogan. I am very interested to see where Rogan takes him. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes, and if it's just the same responses, and Rogan's not like, "Hey, bring up a random sport. How do you like this?" And he's like, "Well, I like it better than Biden does." Like,
I see. I think because I saw him also on Theo Von. I think it's interesting that they're all doing podcasts now because they all know that the
mm,
mainstream media is dead,
mm,
which is very, very interesting. Um, and even there, like a lot of these sort of mainstream, let's call them mainstream, but not explicitly political podcasts. Like Rogan is very rarely political. The most political he gets is when
yeah,
he has Dave Smith on. He's more of a conversationalist to try and get to know
yeah,
someone.
yeah, yeah,
Um, I think that's probably, if I had to guess, I'd say that's probably more the direction that he'll take him, is like,
yeah, yeah,
hey, here's talk a bit about that stuff. Let Trump give his answers. Hopefully he presses him more on that, but I can't see how he could.
yeah, yeah,
Because I mean, you ask Trump that question five times he gives you a different answer where the conclusion is that I'm the best and Joe Biden's the worst. Um, and then he'll probably talk to him about some random, hey, how cool is this move in the UFC? Hey, Jamie,
yeah,
bring this up.
yeah,
Check out this
yeah, yeah.
fucking spin kick or whatever. And
Yeah.
Trump will
Oh,
go,
there was a
yeah, yeah.
volcano the other day, and I saw this. Did you see this? What do you think about magma? How it gets this temperature?
Hey, Jamie, bring up magma. Um, well, that's the yeah. So that's how I sort of think it'll go. And I mean, Theo Von is not a serious political commentator, he's a
Mhm.
comedian, and that was largely what the conversation ended up being, is sort of get to know
Is that
Trump
on
on a
with him and
human level.
the young kids on there? By
No, it
young,
was
I mean
just
like the young. What's the one he did with the younger people? The hip ones.
I don't know which one you're talking about. I don't know which one he did with
Oh, I
the
don't know.
younger
I think
people.
so.
Oh yeah, he did
Yeah,
Flagrant. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The cool kids.
Andrew Schultz, I think his name is.
Sure. So they're not the same people you're talking about.
No, he's doing all the.
Okay.
They're all in the same. They're all in the same sort of
Yeah.
vein. They're all the same. They're all
Okay.
comedians that are outside of the like um,
Yeah.
super allowable mainstream comedian
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
circle. They're all the other ones who have coincidentally a huge following because they're outside of that mainstream circle, which
Yeah.
now no one
Yeah. Yeah.
um, really wants to be a part of. But yeah, so yes, that's the one he did with him, and I'd say yes, it'll be something similar to that one again. Um, but and this was something that, so this was kind of more to my point earlier when we were talking about the misinformation disinformation
Mm.
ban, is that like the fact that these podcasts have taken over largely the mainstream, and the fact that no one really watches CNN, or here no one really watches ABC or Sky or anything. They watch podcasts, not our podcast, but I'm sure there's podcasts that people are watching. And
Yet, I think you got to
yeah, not
preface
our
that.
one yet, but there's
Yeah.
podcasts that have far larger followings than anything else. And for a long time, it's libertarians, especially free speech advocates, they take a lot of hope from this. It's like, hey, yeah, the state's growing. Yeah, it's encroaching on every aspect of
Mm.
our lives more than it ever has before. Yes, this sucks. Yes, it's all horrible. But hey, the optimistic view of the future is that they no longer have a monopoly on truth. They no longer have a monopoly on discussion. They no longer have a monopoly on what gets said and who gets aired and who gets shown to the public. And the point of these bills, and Australia is first in the world, I think. No one else has quite started pushing them into law yet. We're kind of the guinea pig, we're the canary down the coal mine. Is that it's trying to get rid of this exact dynamic. That is the exact dynamic that they're trying to eliminate. Is hey, this is the one positive thing about moving into the future, that while the state expands, technology is expanding at a faster rate that allows more opinions to be heard, and that's exactly what they're trying to clamp down on. So I think the US is certainly not quite there yet, and I don't know how they could ever really clamp down on podcasts, but they can certainly get to a point where they become impossible to show on YouTube, impossible to show on Spotify, which they tried to do to Rogan. If you remember, they tried to kick him off Spotify. But right now, at least for the moment, this is clearly the place to be if you want to get heard. So if Trump does want to come onto Collectivitis, it's an open invite. We're happy to have him.
Yeah, I think that'll be a great show. It'd be a great show.
What would you ask Trump if we had Trump on? Go on, let's thought experiment here.
I ask Trump? That's a great question. I'd be like, well, Trump, you know, name 3 countries.
I think he could name 3. I think he could USA. That's all I need to know. Yeah, what would I ask?
What would you ask him? Yeah, what would you ask him?
Oh, I'd probably ask. See, I'd the things I'd want to actually know from him, he wouldn't answer. Like what's driving you right now to do all of this? Because I mean, I don't really think he has any deep care for the plight of the average person. Otherwise, he'd abolish the Federal Reserve or something. I mean, he doesn't really need any more money or fame or anything. Like, why is it that you are so? He's already the most famous person in the world, whether he wins or loses this election. Like, why do you? And it was probably in many aspects a negative experience being president, because he had so many people coming after him. He was being hunted and still is being hunted and persecuted by the FBI and the CIA and the whole Russiagate hoax and all the rest of it. He's got like, why are you doing this? Why do you care? Because I don't think, like, do you think he really cares about? I don't know. But then, of course, the answer he'd give is, I love America. I love its citizens. I look around and see all the people, and it's such beautiful people and such great people, and I don't want to see it destroyed by communists. And Joe Biden is the worst president we've ever had, and she's even worse. And yeah, maybe Joe Rogan can get onto him with something a little bit more in depth like that. But I think that's his answer. That's what his answer is going to be, regardless.
Yeah. It'd be interesting. We should do like the full list of questions for Trump. You know what I don't know about Trump that I'd like to ask? What's his favorite color?
Orange. I mean, that's an easy one. Of course, his favorite color.
It's the new black, so
Well, it's either orange or it's red, white, and blue. Like that's
No, like legitimate. Like if he was just like, I remember. Anyway, I'm not gonna do Trump imitation, but what if it's like turquoise or something? And it's like, wow, that's deep, man. That's really fucking deep.
No, his favorite color is actually green, because that's his. Or it was, at least. I mean, I think he's lost money. I think he continues to lose money every day that he runs for president, and they're bleeding him dry. So it was green. Now it's orange, or red, white, and blue, whatever. Anyway, all right. I think that's probably enough for today. What do you any last thoughts before we sign off?
No, just shout out to everyone who watches, all the crew out there. Yeah, no, big shout outs. Take it easy, have fun. And final thoughts. No, just if you ever meet Trump, just ask him what his favorite color is.
Let's find out what Trump's favorite color is. That's a good mission. If you ever meet Trump, if you ever happen to be in a room with Trump,
walking down the street, you see Trump, you're like, "Hey, Trump, What's your
There was
favorite
something I
color,
needed
mate?
to ask this guy. Hold on, what was it? Oh shit, there's someone trying to assassinate him again. Hold on, let him deal with that for a second, and I'll ask him what his favorite color is.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. If you don't already, you can follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and Twitter. We're back. We will hopefully be doing more. I'm looking to get more guest episodes in the near future. So hopefully we'll have some more people to talk about different things, other than just the two of us rambling on as per usual. And intermittently, we will also ramble on. So you can look forward to that as well.
Woo.
Other than that, we will catch you later.
Take it easy.